The one thing that all people wish for, whether they fully realize it or not, is a sense of warmth and belonging in the world. A sense of being deeply connected to the world around them, to nature, to people, to themselves. In this deep connection, when our soul links with the world around us, we experience love, and it's what brings meaning to our days. Love brings joy to our days. It can turn the mundane into the magical. It can turn an ordinary, simple existence into something absolutely beautiful. Love is the foundation of our life, and when we receive it fully, there is strength, there is power, there is a deep sense of contentment and well-being. Why does love elude us so much? As long as we are caught up in the ego and caught up in the world of the material and looking only at the external, love will remain 1,000 miles away. When there is truth, when I am in touch with my spiritual reality, and when I allow my mind and my thoughts to go slowly, love is as present as the sky, as present as the clouds and the trees around me. Moment now, allow yourself to let go and just see yourself leaving the shores of the physical world, leaving the dramas and the stories, leaving the memories. Allow your mind to begin to enter those deep waters of quietude, peace. You can enter that silence. You can enter the experience of love. The philosophy of Raja Yoga, we believe that there is an eternal source of love. We believe that God is always an ocean of love, the one who never loses touch with truth. See yourself now, bathing in that ocean of warm, loving, tender light. In the same way as a child feels deeply connected to the mother, when you are in your reality of being light, there is a deep, unbreakable connection of love with the supreme source of love. God always remains an ocean of love, because God is the only being who is able to always see the inherent beauty of all living things. The only one who is always in a state of silence beyond the noise of the external world. When we allow our mind to bathe in these waves of pure love, the soul becomes strong. Let these waves of love wash over you, knowing you are deeply loved, knowing you are deeply accepted. Ask yourself in your heart right now. Ask yourself, how does God see you? How does God see you? All your beauty, all your glory. Take a moment to sit in front of the Supreme Being, the ocean of love, and receive the answer to this question. The reason why we love people is because of the way we see them. If I can learn to see myself the way God sees me, I can hold that vision for myself daily, I will experience love within my being. I will experience love with God. But I will also learn how to see others in the light of their reality. The way I see things will either create love. The way I see things will either emerge appreciation and happiness and gratitude, or bitterness and ordinary wasteful thoughts. So if I want to fulfill the deepest wish to belong and connect with life and others with my heart, let me spend time in my spiritual reality and merge with the ocean of love daily.
Okay, that was a beautiful meditation. So, morning to those who joined us a little later. So this morning, as we begin to explore the third aspect of our reflection, I first like us to touch base a little bit on what the exercise yesterday offered for all of us. I think my own personal experience was that, I thought of it as one virtue, and then I saw, but it was linked to another virtue and another virtue. So many times we will find that the virtues are very, very interconnected. And as we focus on one, it draws naturally all the others. And what I found interesting for me was that I think the more the world becomes uncertain, the more our trust in the sacred has to deepen. And for me, that was the main theme, a deep trust in the sacred, in the invisible, in the subtle. And it takes courage to do that, because I realized that as much as we may know, yet we are so conditioned into operating and functioning from the physical, from the corporeal in a way. And it takes a deep level of courage to know that it's the subtlety of my thoughts, it's the subtlety of my attitudes, it's the subtlety of my good wishes, it's the subtlety of my intuitive wisdom. And going with that, it's the subtlety of my trust in the process of the spiritual journey that will have a bigger and greater effect. That what we're seeing on the external is the collapse of that which is not based on deeper truth, and so to be okay with it. So before I move on, I'd like to invite members of the team for them to share a little bit of what came up for them in the reflections as well. So the team that helped to put this whole journal together and the thinking behind it was Sister Raksha, Sister Nita and Sister Devendri. So I'm going to ask them to share a little bit before I move on today. Okay.
Okay, I can go. It's Nita.
You want to put your camera up? It'll be nice.
Oh, my background is not set up well.
It's okay.
Okay. So I think for me it was an interesting exercise because perhaps when I first looked at the virtues on that page, there were some preconceived ideas that I had or I felt which were supporting me, but there was one that pulled me, and it's not something that I would have thought of ordinarily, and it was hope. And so it was interesting just to see how that has been quietly a support, a very, very quiet incognito support. And the way I felt it expressed itself for me throughout the year was that when challenging situations or anything that happened came along, there was this thought or this understanding that this is just a frame of my journey, and that it will also pass. And so it was just a lovely insight that I received from that. But the other thing which was insightful as well was when I was having the conversation with the virtue, it was hope, and then acceptance was secondary to that. But I think the acceptance fed into this whole aspect of having hope. But in my conversation, there was a question that these two virtues sort of put forth to me. And it was, what are you most afraid of? Because recognizing that that's my Achilles heel on some level. And the thing that came out for me was fear of losing freedom, because freedom is something that I value and I hold as very sacred within myself. And so it challenged me to think about that a little bit deeper. But what came out of that was just a lovely understanding and a deep feeling of, but freedom is an internal state of being. And it's not defined by what I do or the tasks or even just the role that I have to play at specific moments in time. So irrespective of what my external situation or surroundings might be, internally, I can always have that feeling of freedom and unlimitedness on some extent. So that was just so, so beautiful for me to tap into and realize going into the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Nita. That was lovely. Sometimes it's interesting that we know these things, but how it just becomes so much more real and relevant when we give time to reflect on it. So that was great. Okay, Raksha, would you like to share?
Yes. So I was looking at my notes as well, and just trying to read the spiral writing that I had done with the left hand. So that was quite interesting. But for me, what had come up with the spiral writing that we had done, the automatic writing, was that I had also chosen the keyhole, and in the keyhole there was that light, but I sensed there was some fear of the unknown. And as one continued to write, the word that stood out was love, courage, and trust. And then as we journeyed the next day with that, what had especially come out for me the first day was going into many limited experiences. And as I was going into those limited experiences, they felt a heaviness, even though you had shared earlier that just that kindness and that gentleness with the self. But as one then, looked at engaging with the virtue that had supported you through the year, the two virtues that stood out for me was courage and kindness. And as I looked at these two and began to journal, the feeling was that even though one feels one needs more courage, how courage has been an integral part of every moment of the year. And so how courage has been there. And it was beautiful, the words that were emerging from courage, like, you are amazing all the time, be kind to yourself, and stay with me all the time, I am here. So very beautiful conversation with courage, how it has formed a very beautiful part of the journey, and how much courage you have had to maintain over the year. And it's just a matter of now holding on to these two hands of courage and kindness on the journey forward in life. So that was the experience. But I must say, it's really lovely, to separate from these virtues and then watch how they have been supporting you. And there is so much strength and power, and to develop that trust, that self-trust in what one is emerging from within, and not to get lost in the illusions of what one still possibly has to do. And so that was the experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Raksha. Lovely. Yeah, I think for many of us, in the focus of getting it right, we can sometimes be very hard on ourselves, and that reminder of kindness to the self is key, because only through love and kindness can there really be transformation. You can't force transformation. You have to allow for transformation. And it's the energy of love that allows for transformation. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to invite Devendri now to share. You're a little soft, Devendri. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, can hear. Just see if you can.
So that might be the reason why.
Okay.
So it was actually quite a beautiful experience, reflecting on the silent companions of the virtues, because I actually wasn't even able to select. I really felt like, looking back, and just taking the time to appreciate, I could see how I was almost surrounded by all of them. Different companions according to the time, according to the situation, sometimes more than one together at different points in time. But what was interesting for me, and what I was asking myself, is why didn't I appreciate that companionship whilst it was occurring? It's almost like I was actively utilizing these virtues in life, but almost blind to the experience. And you only really enjoy and appreciate it if you're aware that at this point in time, courage is my companion, or I am being very hopeful, and things. And what was interesting is that it related directly to the pattern that I was speaking about, that I sort of identified the day before. So again, it was just a confirmation of how deep that pattern had established itself inside of me, and in a sense, how I was being cut short of just really, really embracing and enjoying all of these natural, wonderful experiences that I am engaging in. Just to conclude, it was really wonderful because on the first evening, I mentioned that my blank that I filled in for the title was From Doubt to the Music of My Spirit. And I can really see how all of these exercises, just removing the cobwebs and actually removing the doubts. Yeah.
Thank you, Devendri. Yeah, It's lovely to see how we have these internal resources, but what a difference it makes when we do take that moment to acknowledge it. And I think in a way also the mindset shifts from thinking I have to in a sense I have, and I am working from that space. It's like affirming something very sacred in oneself when we begin to acknowledge these virtues and qualities within ourselves. Beautiful, thank you. Anyone else would like to share from the group? Please feel
Om
free.
Shanti, Sister Pratibha. It's Lakshmi here. I
Yes,
just took two qualities, acceptance and gratitude. I'll make it short. So I've just came to my mind. I was able to accept challenges in life, and I'm grateful to God for His blessings and blessing me in abundance. And I'm thankful to God for giving me opportunities to help others, to be an instrument in the hands of God. And blessed to be connected to the BK sisters and brothers, helping me in my spiritual journey with their meditation and events and all that. So that's what came to my mind. Thank you, sister.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? There is anyone? Or if you'd like to, you could even put it in the chat. Mhm. Okay, so we're going to move on to our third focus for today. And I think one of the things I had shared when I started was really this whole aspect that our spiritual journey is a journey to love. And in one way to really begin to feel that love emerging from within ourselves and becoming very tangible in our lives as well, it is really about reconnecting and deepening our relationship with God. And it's an insight that I've always kept very close to my heart in a way, that it's the experience of love that is unconditional, that really restores in the soul a sense of its own value. And I am loved, but when I feel that, and the only place I can really experience love that's unconditional, it is through my relationship with the divine. So today's exercise, Nita Vigutya, I'd like to just read this because this is really very beautiful by Brother Anthony Strano. And it is really an invitation for us to take moments in our day and spend quality time today in the remembrance of one, in the presence of one. And I'd like to read this because I think sometimes we feel, especially based on our traditional notions coming from our religious traditions, many times it's like, I have to become good, or I have to do penance in some way or another before I'm worthy to feel the presence of God. But I think one of the key things that has been a shift in awareness and understanding that just as I am, as long as I turn my awareness towards the divine with a clean heart, I will feel that presence. And the experience of that presence is what really, as I said, helps the very best of the self to emerge. And I'll share one simple experience, my experience whenever I've been in the presence of souls like Daddy Janki, who have, really worked so deeply in themselves. that when you were in their presence, it was like they didn't have to say anything. Daddy never had to say anything or whatever, but in her presence, you almost felt that her energy, her vision, and her attitude, it like drew out the best of you. And that's what love is. It doesn't have to give you something, but it reminds you and draws out what is the very best in you. So this thing of creating the awareness to step into that beautiful remembrance of the divine draws out the divinity from us. So whenever you remember me, I become present. I'm making this golden offer to you to be your companion constantly. Just create the thought, create the space in your heart, and create time to be with me. I am your invisible friend, but my presence is very visible to you. Although I live in the world of eternity, I am aware of every second that goes by. And it is through this window of tiny time that I can slip through and be with you. So an invitation for today, take moments in your day and just put a pause on all that is ordinary and just step into that, through that window of the extraordinary, and be with the divine for that moment. And in a way, just allow the heart to open and feel that special radiance, that special love, and look through that lens of love then when you engaging with the ordinary again. That is an onward journey. One beautiful exercise, and today we've got a series of questions that you can reflect on, and we're going to invite you to write with your non-dominant hand again as you respond to these questions again, so that my usual pattern of thought doesn't come through, but that I'm tapping into something that is deeper in me. And one very, very beautiful gift that I once received, I was going to go for a silence retreat, and a friend gifted me with a diary. And it was unique, this diary, because on the one page, it was an invitation for you to write. And then the next page, it was almost like inviting the divine to respond to you. And so I would even invite you today, write out your question. And then with your non-dominant hand, just write and see the response you get. And not to think about the response, but just whatever comes out and however your pen flows, let it flow. And it's amazing. And, as you're going through these questions, let it be a dialogue with the divine. So the questions we've offered are like a framework, but there may be other questions that come up for you. So just feel free. Just write your question with your dominant hand, and then let your non-dominant hand respond to you. And just observe what emerges and how this dialogue unfolds for you. And definitely, I think it's almost like one realization that I've had is that if we want to tap into the wisdom of the divine that is waiting to speak to us, we have to become quiet in a way. It's the the aspect from today's meditation that drew me was that when I really silence myself from overthinking, silence myself from emotion, then what happens is that I give space for the divine to reach me. And so use the writing today as a way of just allowing the whisperings of that truth, the whisperings of that divinity to manifest through your writing. So it's a beautiful exercise, and just enjoy it and just let it flow what needs to flow in a way. And I think our aim very much of offering these different processes for you is also that it becomes something that you carry through for yourself into the new year, as well as a way of just refining for yourself that relationship with the divine. And how we would like you to conclude this process of these last 3 days is that just take a few moments and just look at what came up for you in your reflections, and maybe underline a slogan for yourself, or words for yourself, or even an image if you'd like to create for yourself. And in the journal itself, we've created a little frame there, and put your insight or your keyword or whatever has moved you and touched you into that frame, and make it your bookmark, so that the essence of the reflection you carry with you into the new year, and that you always touch base with it, so that it becomes a foundation for your year going forward. So that's what our hope is and our suggestion is, so that this journey doesn't end but continues. And yes, I think someone was asking, would be lovely to sustain these sessions, but yes, for the new year as well, we have a new format that we're going to introduce in the new year, starting from Monday. And we want to sort of integrate the various offerings that we have to make it into one cohesive program for you. So in the new year, we'll be starting our morning program from 7 with a meditation, and then with some reflections on our thought for the day. And then we have a morning program for half an hour that will be from 7:45 to 8:15, which will be on willpower in January that we will have. And Sister Devendri and Sister Usha will be facilitating that session. And then we'll end off with some thoughts and practices for the day. So it will be quite a comprehensive program, almost like a breakfast program, full-on breakfast program. And we'll be calling it Rise and Shine with Brahma Kumaris. And one of the things that we will be doing is that we will be including photographs of our centers, or little clips of our centers, because we want to now create the feeling that you are entering into our space. It's not just an online thing, but you entering into our space, because we feel very often that is what has often touched people, and that's been the atmosphere in our spaces. So it's a step to just help you see our spaces and enjoy our spaces as well. Okay, great. So I would conclude here. If there's anyone who would like to share anything, feel free to unmute. But yeah, we'll conclude our morning session here today. and just wishing all of you the very best. This evening, you are welcome to join us for our 11 to 12 p.m. meditation. So 11 p.m. for an hour, that we'll have a special meditation where we will enter into the new year in a sacred way. And so we welcome you to do that as well. So yes, thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope this reflection has been useful, and and we connect again in the new year, which is in a few hours time, and we enter the new space stronger. We enter the new space more deeply connected, and we one step closer to that state of being in a state of absolute love. So thank you everyone, and we'll end off with a beautiful song to round off our reflective journey together. Om Shanti. Thank you.
I will come to you when you are in the silence. Once again, I will write upon your heart, and I'll meet you deep inside your inner castle, where together we can take the fear apart. And you've no idea just how much I've missed you. I've been waiting many lifetimes for your call, and I will sing my song of love for those who hear, and I will sing my song of love. I will come to you when emptiness surrounds you. Once again, I will fill you with my life, and I'll meet you deep inside your inner castle. I will hold you through the darkest night, and you've no idea just how much I adore you. For if you did, you'd never feel alone. And I will sing my song of love for those who hear, and I will sing my song of love. And I will sing my song of love for those who hear, and I will sing my song of love. Those who hear.
So thank you all. Stay safe. Enjoy the celebration this evening, and we'll meet again in the new year. I've put in the chat the Zoom ID for this evening's meditation as well. So enjoy, take care, Om Shanti. Bye bye.